All right, guys, welcome back to Larry Buys Houses. Tonight, we're talking about how to put together your first real estate deal fast. So let's be real. Most people overthink real estate. I can't stress that enough. The truth is, your first deal doesn't take years. It can happen in days if you focus on the three things: finding deals, finding people to fix those deals, and finding the money. But the key is, and this is where people make a lot of mistakes, is you must start all of them at the same time. In your first week of real estate, there's nothing stopping you from looking at deals, calling contractors to find out what their deal is, and calling people that you know to see about finding money. But they all have to start at the same time. Because if you're doing deal first, find the people, yeah, the money might be there when you're ready. But the reality is that most times the thought of not being able to get the money holds us back from actually doing the finding of the deal and the finding of the people. So importantly, finding money at the same time allows you to start building that confidence that you will be able to take this down when you find it. And that's one thing that holds people back like crazy. Your first deal isn't about luck. It's about that alignment of money, people, and deals. So I'm Bryce Kaminsky. As you guys all know, Larry Buys Houses. Larry is my middle name. And what I do is I teach people how to put together real estate deals. And if they want to do the whole deal themselves, that's great. But we primarily focus on the acquisition and the disposition, whether it's sold to someone like your own investor or to someone else in your network. You still have to perform the main tasks of the money, people, and deal. With wholesaling, money is your wholesale buyer, but it could also be your private investors where you put the deal together and do it as well. So I've seen students and partners close deals in a week if they align these three things. So by the end of the call tonight, you'll have a simple game plan so that you can start tomorrow finding your deal. So the easiest thing about finding a deal is really setting an expectation. You need 100 leads to look through to find that one motivated seller with the ability to spot the timing of that opportunity. So in any given real estate market, you can look at 100 properties, make offers on 10, and one of them is going to fall down into a position where you could consider either wholesaling it or buying the deal and doing it yourself. So MLS, typically the way you're finding deals is it's kind of the leftovers, things that have been sitting for a while or things that are mismarketed, like only one or two pictures, has a tenant problem, the tired landlord, as well as things like foreclosures. Now, those go pretty quick on the private side these days. People are, working those lists. However, the tax liens on properties and ultimately, putting up that Kijiji ad or that Craigslist ad, these things don't really cost you anything. It's just being out there and visible that you did the activity. So we want to start creating that kind of daily flow of planting seeds. Every message you send out, every call you make to a realtor, every flyer that you do, every outbound marketing activity, you call that a seed and you plant that in. And so really what we want to start doing in a daily way, really simple, is use the 3-3-3 rule. We want to talk to three sellers, whether it's a MLS agent or a private person. Amongst those agent outbound calls and the private seller calls, for sale by owner, that's 6 of your main calls of the day. So the first 3 private sellers, that's going to be your off market yet for sale by owner. The next 3 is 3 agents. Pick 3 agents that have these properties that you're looking at. Give them a call and ask them, what's the story with that house? And they'll tell you what the story is instead of how many bedrooms it has. And then the third one is investors. We want to start calling out into the people in our phone book. You just start at A and go to Z. And if you look at the number and you can remember, kind of who they are, give them a call. Give them a quick script along the lines of, we're not asking for money from them. We're asking if they know anyone who's interested in doing these things that we're currently doing. And that allows them to be included, as well as for them to include people that they know. That's how we start getting the ball rolling on raising money. If you're not talking to people, you're not in real estate. You're just watching it happen, okay? So deals don't close because of paperwork. They close because of the people involved. The the problems that are happening with them and your ability to solve them. And that's why these deals closed. An agent motivated to sell and you're motivated to buy. And that's why these things sell. Now, when we're looking at the middle part, we're trying to find the people that are going to be able to repair this property, or if you're a wholesaler, come out and give you a look and a number so that you can say, this is a deal. It only needs, my guy says he can do it for 25K. And you have a couple of those guys and you call them and maybe they end up buying a deal or two once in a while. But ultimately, we want to build that middle power team. So this is your money, people, deal team. This is where you're going to have contractors, realtors, buyers for wholesaling the deals that we don't end up actually doing and renovating, but buyers. And ultimately, you're going to have your investors, your private lenders, your JV partners. And when everything starts clicking, you're really only one conversation away from your next deal. You call a realtor, they said they taken the offer. We can see it tomorrow at 2. You call your contractor, he meets you there at 2 o'clock. You call your investor that same night and tell them you have something interesting. And maybe they want to come see it because it's your first deal, or maybe they don't even care, but you're priming them up. You're saying, hey, I know I called you last week and we weren't really into a deal. You're still thinking about the idea. Just letting you know a deal has come across the table. I'm going to be going to see it at 2 o'clock. I'll let you know either way what happens with that thing so that you can kind of start moving the money, all kind of pushing the whole thing forward in a strike of conversations, because you're dealing with the realtors, you've got the contractors ready to go, and the investors are primed. This is where we can put together a deal, 5, 6, 7 days. Obviously, you can't really close that fast. A lot of times you got to close a little slower than that. But putting the deal together so that possession is seamless usually happens, it can happen in about a week. If you really start everything at the beginning and you're doing your 3-3-3 every day, you're going to get closer and closer to something. If you really want to get it in a week, it's probably 10-10-10. You've got to be expanding that to get that velocity. And the thing that I love the most about real estate is if you want more leads, you have to do more things. If you want more activity in real estate, you do more activity and you're always rewarded. It's not like, oh, I did more of that thing and it didn't work. Never have I called more realtors and had less opportunity. Never have I had more contractors and had the inability to make the numbers work by having the right person in my book. And never have we gone to raise capital and not had the people that understand what a deal is. And if you could bring it to them, invest in these things without ever actually seeing them. And it's all a matter of getting those 3 things, putting them all together and pushing the thing. That's that money, people, deal. So if you can find the people, the deals will find you. And in reverse, if you have the deals, the people will find you. And so that's how these 2 things work together. And when we have the deal and the people, money is more easily attracted to that that corner of the deal, because they already understand what deals are. So you just have to manufacture them for you. So let's talk about finding the money. Funding doesn't follow fear. It follows confidence. And the one thing we always teach at the weekend seminars and all those things is money is equal to an idea plus confidence. And what's interesting is that idea is the deal, and it better be a good idea. And even it can be a kind of a rotten idea because it's added to the amount of confidence you can bring to something. And money can get pulled into, people fall for all sorts of stuff because the con man has maximum confidence and he's selling and the idea could be junk. But the money transfers over because it's a composition of both the idea you have and how confident you are in executing. Maybe you have a great idea and you're not that confident. People will invest in that. But it is a composition of the 2 things. So when you're starting out, typically private lenders are investing in the deal if they are an experienced investor. When you're starting out, the people you're investing in is kind of your wolf pack. Someone said they put 20 grand in over here, and someone says they'll put 10 grand in over here, and someone says they'll put 30 grand in over here, and suddenly you can put a deal together. So they're investing primarily in you and your ability to execute it. Now, you may have never done it before, but choosing the right deal, something's relatively simple, and ultimately they're betting on your power team and your ability to manage these people. So your agent that they know what they're talking about, your contractors and stagers and all the people that help make the deal possible, they're kind of looking at the whole thing. But primarily you, can you organize this thing? And even having not done it before, coming to things like this and going through real estate education, you can say, I've been trained on this. I do know what I'm talking about. I have people that are on my board that help me along, coaches, mentors. Those are the people that are going to kind of certify you, especially when you're raising money for the first time. But it's usually friends and family, just beyond them, people that you don't have to have Christmas dinner with or Thanksgiving dinner with. They'll invest with you because they're not afraid to sue you if it goes sideways. So start practicing your pitch early. Here's what I'm working on. Would you like to see where, I can find something that works for you? These kind of canned pitches really aren't getting to the heart of raising money. The heart of raising money first is, as I said before, asking around the person you're talking to, because it's a very high stress ask. So if we can say, I know you're not interested, but do you know someone who might be interested in investing in real estate, splitting the profit on some of these flips that I'm doing? That allows them to be that person and the people that they know. And so just that simple pitch and getting good at that pitch is going to open up these conversations, because money loves two things: clarity and certainty. So when we are able to articulate our business model, which we'll talk a little bit more, and we've talked about it a lot before, but the 0.7 rule and the way that things are bought, we buy in for 40 to 60 cents on the dollar, renovating to 75 cents. Cost of business is 10 cents. We're into it for 85. We're splitting 7.5% on whatever it is we're doing, 50-50 on whatever the profit margin is at the end of the game, depending on the deal. But having that certainty about how we buy and the clarity about what makes it a deal shows that you have a plan and you're not just begging for money out here. If you can't sell the story as to why this is a deal, you'll never fund the deal. It has to make sense both emotionally, like we're getting a good deal because of XYZ, and financially, we're getting a good deal because of XYZ. We bought it right. We have the right team to do it. We're at the right price. I got a guy, and we can get it done and back in the market at the right time. That's a story that you can sell. Now, these three things, the money, people, deal, they aren't separate. They move together. And if you wait for one before starting the next, you're always going to be behind. You find deals, but you can't get them looked at. You find deals and you're getting them looked at, but you can't show them to anyone. So you understand that you must have all three moving at the same momentum right from the beginning. So the way to create momentum and speed right out of the gate is you got to be doing that 3-step action plan. You got to make daily contact lists tonight for tomorrow. We're not making lists of who to call during call time. We can do this when the market's closed. We want to identify 3 local markets in your area that you might want to look into. However, more importantly is to call the 3 oldest properties, something that starts with that motivation, and get those conversations going. Find 3 for sale by owners on Craigslist or Kijiji and call them and just kick the tires on it. Call 3 agents, call them, ask them what the story is with the house and kick the tires on it a little bit. Call 3 friends and ask them, I know you're not interested, but do you know someone who might be interested in lending and borrowing me the money to do some of these flips that I'm working on? Because, they're coming quick and I would love to split it with someone if they can fund the thing, because I've got more than I need. More deals coming in than I can fund right now. And then this is where that momentum comes. It doesn't come from information. It comes from the movement, the activities. The more you put in, the more you get back in this business. There's no glass ceiling in real estate. You can just go and go and go. As big as you want to scale it, as big as you can make it. Then you're going to have to put more people in there and more teams. But find that sweet spot, that matches what you want to get and what you can get back out of it. Remembering, don't be disappointed with the result of the things that you didn't do. You know, be realistic. If you didn't put that much work in, don't expect to get that much out of it. If you put more in, you'll get more out of it. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be doing the 2-day live Blueprint to Cash Bootcamp, how to turn this process into a system that makes deals happen on repeat. That's happening here, Winnipeg, November 22nd and 23rd at the Victoria Inn in Winnipeg. If you're serious about creating momentum and building real wealth through real estate, this is the room you want to be in. You don't need more motivation. You need a blueprint. And when you follow it, cash follows too. So we're going to go to deal chat with the rest of the room, talk about what they're working on, and we'll catch you guys on the next recording.